I don't know what's clapping. I just know something is.
All right, get ready, because today we're going deep into the world of Chantal Sarault.
AKA Foodie Beauty.
You got it.
So we'll be looking at how she rose to internet fame, the content she makes, and well...
Some of the controversy around her.
Yeah, and all this is based on a single source, a forum post from Kiwi Farms.
Kiwi Farms, for anyone who doesn't know.
It's a website that documents and talks about online personalities. It's had its share of controversies for sure, allegations of things like harassment and doxing.
Yeah, we want to make it clear
Absolutely.
that our focus is
Right.
strictly on the facts in this specific post about Chantal.
Think of it like we're using this post as a way to look at this part of internet culture and how someone like Chantal can gain such a following.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's start with the basics. Chantal is a Canadian YouTuber who actually first tried to start a beauty channel. But her path to online fame,
Took a bit of a turn.
yeah, an unexpected one.
That fit
But
it.
she started making mukbang videos.
For those who don't know, mukbang is basically filming yourself eating like a ton of food.
Huge amounts.
Yeah, and Chantal often films these in her car alone, which already makes her different from your typical beauty influencer.
Yeah, and the post highlights this change in her content, describing her early beauty stuff.
Yeah.
And then, bam, this sudden shift to mukbang.
Which, you know, really launched her into a whole different kind of online spotlight.
It did.
Now, it's interesting because you might compare Chantal to other mukbang personalities like Amberlynn Reid.
Right.
But the forum post suggests she's really in a category of her own.
Yeah. They even call her the Canadian Amberlynn Reid at one point.
Hey,
But then go on to describe Chantal's, like,
her outlandish behavior and delusions.
yeah, as, like, key factors in her appeal.
So what is it about Chantal that's so captivating to the people who follow her?
Right. What is it?
Well, the forum post talks about this pattern in her content that they call the Chantal cycle. It starts with her saying she's going to lose weight, you know, often with some specific diet,
Yeah.
or just proclaiming this new dedication to her health.
We're going to get healthy this time.
Exactly. She's tried different things like veganism,
Right.
but according to the post, rarely sticks to them for very long.
Not for long.
Nope.
And this is where the cycle comes in.
Yeah, the post describes how her initial excitement always seems to lead to her gaining weight, followed by angry rants, deleted videos,
Whoa.
and then silence. Like, she just goes quiet.
Until, of course, the cycle starts all over again with another big announcement about losing weight.
Yep, it's like a soap opera, but in the world of mukbang.
Totally.
And that's a key point here.
Yeah.
This cyclical nature of what she does seems to be a big part of why people are so fascinated by her.
Okay, I see that.
It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion.
You know it's not going to end well.
Exactly. But you just can't look away.
The post also gets into Chantal's, let's say, complicated relationship with the truth.
Yeah, in fact, they come right out and say, Chantal lies.
Wow.
That's a fundamental takeaway for anyone trying to understand her.
They just say that, flat out.
Yeah, it's a pretty bold statement.
It is.
They say she lies constantly, and not just small lies, about big things like her health, her relationships, whether she's sticking to her diets.
Pretty much everything.
Yeah, almost everything.
And what's interesting is the post describes her lying as, like, pointless, inconsistent.
Right.
Like she can't even keep her own story straight.
It makes it really hard to figure out what's real and what's made up in her world.
So adds to the intrigue.
Oh, definitely. You're always left wondering what's true.
Yeah.
And what's made up, which keeps people engaged, trying to figure out what's really going on, it's like a puzzle for them to solve.
And speaking of puzzles, one of the most puzzling things about Chantal is her health.
The forum post paints a pretty concerning picture.
Yeah, they mentioned issues like blood clots
A hysterectomy.
and, like, increasing problems with her mobility,
And they point out her frequent trips to the ER, sometimes for things that seem really minor.
which further suggests maybe a pattern of not taking care of herself.
Right. It's a big contrast to the lighthearted feel of her mukbang videos.
It is. It definitely makes you wonder about the long-term consequences of her choices and her apparent lack of self-care.
Yeah, it's a juxtaposition the forum post seems to highlight, maybe intentionally, to show the potential disconnect between Chantal online and Chantal in real life.
And speaking of real life,
Let's talk about another mysterious part of Chantal's life, her money.
yeah, it's a big one.
One of the biggest mysteries around her.
The post mentions she doesn't seem to have a job,
Right.
but she's constantly spending on food, makeup, clothes, you name it.
They speculate that maybe she's getting financial support from family or friends, but ultimately no one seems to know where her income comes from.
It's another piece of the puzzle.
Absolutely. Adds another layer of intrigue to the whole Chantal Sarault saga.
And it wouldn't be a complete picture of Chantal without mentioning the people around her.
Right.
Her on-again, off-again boyfriend, Bibi. An ex-fiancé named Pete's. Her mother. Grandmother.
It's quite a cast of characters.
It is.
And the post really dives into the complicated relationships between all of them.
Right, and Chantal's portrayal of these people often contradicts itself.
Leaving viewers to guess about what these connections are really like.
It's almost like trying to put together a puzzle where some pieces are missing.
Or don't quite fit.
Yeah, exactly.
And that brings us to another crucial element of the Chantal Sarault phenomenon.
Okay.
Her online persona, and one thing that really sticks out is her intolerance of any criticism.
Oh, absolutely.
The post says she constantly deletes comments she doesn't like, blocks people who challenge her, and even goes after YouTube channels she thinks are bullying her.
Wow. So even though her content seems chaotic and unfiltered,
Right.
she's actually really controlling about her online space.
It's almost like she's trying to create her own reality, even if it doesn't match up with what other people see.
Fascinating. A real example of how these online personalities can shape their own narrative.
And control what their audience sees.
Exactly.
And within this carefully controlled world, she's built a very diverse fan base, a mix of people who seem genuinely worried about her,
Right.
people who are drawn to the whole train wreck thing,
Oh, yeah.
and even, well, the post doesn't shy away from mentioning the role of fat fetishists in her viewership.
It's a good reminder that online communities can attract all sorts of people with different motivations, and Chantal's is no different.
Very true.
But let's move on to some of the more unique aspects of Chantal's online presence,
Okay, like what?
like her verbal tics.
Oh, yes, those are definitely worth talking about.
Yeah.
We'll get into those, as well as the online drama and her relationships with other mukbang people after a short break.
Sounds good.
Stay with us. Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about Chantal's fan base.
And how she controls her online narrative.
Right, like shutting down any criticism. But let's talk about some of Chantal's more, well, peculiar traits.
Okay, like those verbal tics.
Exactly. They're definitely a defining part of her online persona.
For sure.
The forum post highlights a few that stand out.
Okay.
There's her signature, he.
Oh, yeah.
It almost sounds like a witch's cackle.
It really does.
And it just comes out of nowhere.
It's so distinctive. What's interesting is the post describes it as something she does when she thinks something's funny.
Right.
Even if no one else does.
Exactly. It's one of those things that makes her instantly recognizable, even if you only hear her voice.
Yeah, just that sound.
And then there's the SHH. I said SHH.
Oh, yeah, that one's a little creepy.
It's often said with such force.
Like she's scolding someone?
But she's usually alone in her car when she does it.
So weird.
The post speculates that maybe she's silencing a voice in her head, maybe one that's criticizing her eating.
Wow, that's a little disturbing.
It is, especially considering the context of her videos.
Definitely adds to the whole unpredictable vibe around her.
For sure.
And there are a few other tics the post mentions, like her deep voice when she calls her cat Sham, or that word she made up, Beezen, to describe bad behavior.
It's like she's created her own language, a Chantal speak.
Right, it's another way she sets herself apart online.
It's fascinating how these small things, these verbal quirks, can become so central to an online personality.
It's true, like they're clues to a bigger personality.
Speaking of puzzles, the forum post also looks at the question of Chantal's self-awareness, or lack thereof.
Like how she presents herself as a glamorous influencer, but then shares these stories that many would find embarrassing.
Or even repulsive.
Yeah, there's a disconnect between the image she's trying to project and the actual content.
Right. You have to wonder if she's doing it on purpose.
Maybe to troll people.
Yeah, or if it's something more complicated, it's tough to say for sure based on what's in the post.
The forum post also compares Chantal to another mukbang personality, Nikocado Avocado.
Yeah, who's known for those over-the-top chaotic videos.
Right.
The comparison seems to be about their dramatic content.
Yeah, their tendency to push boundaries.
Yeah, exactly. They both walk this line between entertainment and something more disturbing.
And they do it with a kind of recklessness.
Definitely something to think about.
It is.
Now, while the post mainly focuses on Chantal, it does mention her interactions with other people in the mukbang world.
Like her rivalry with Amberlynn Reid.
Yeah, it's interesting how these online personalities have these relationships and drama, just like in real life, but amplified by the internet.
It's true.
And with Chantal, those relationships seem especially volatile.
Lots of conflict.
The post talks about an incident where Chantal assumed a tweet from Amberlynn was about her.
Oh, wow.
Which led to a very public feud.
So it's like high school drama, but on a global stage.
With thousands watching and commenting, adding fuel to the fire.
That's a great point. It shows how the internet can make these conflicts bigger and distort them.
Absolutely. And speaking of distortion, we have to come back to that main claim from the forum post. Chantal lies.
Right, it's like their catchphrase.
They really want to emphasize that you shouldn't take anything she says at face value.
Which makes analyzing her even harder.
You're always wondering, is this true? Is this exaggerated? Is this totally made up?
But that's also what makes her so fascinating to so many people.
It's like a puzzle, looking for hidden meanings.
Exactly. It adds complexity and intrigue to her content.
But that complexity also leads to a really important question. How do we reconcile this constant lying with her seeming desire to connect with her audience?
Yeah, is it all just for views and attention?
Or is there something more going on, maybe psychological, maybe stemming from insecurity or a need to create a better story about her life?
Yeah, it's a tough one.
The forum post offers some theories, but ultimately leaves it to you to decide.
They don't try to force a definitive answer, which is interesting in itself.
It is. It's a reminder that when you're looking at online personalities, especially someone as complex as Chantal, there's rarely a simple explanation.
And it shows the power of mystery in keeping people's attention.
Well said. But now that we've explored Chantal's online persona, her quirks, and the dynamics of her online world, I think it's time to look at some of the bigger events and relationships that have shaped her story.
You're talking about her relationship with Bibi, her former fiancé Pete's, and that event in 2018, the post keeps mentioning.
Exactly. We'll try to uncover some of those deeper layers of the Chantal Sarault saga after a quick break. Stay with us.
Okay, we're back and ready to dig into some of those key relationships and events that have shaped Chantal's journey.
Yeah, those really add another dimension to understanding her.
They do.
One of the most talked about things is her on-again, off-again relationship with Bibi.
It's definitely a focus in the forum post and something that seems to, fascinate and confuse viewers.
The post suggests that Chantal really wants that male validation and often makes up or exaggerates stories about her love life.
Okay.
There's this recurring theme of her saying she's been with all these foreign black guys,
Right.
which the post presents as, well, intriguing, but also questionable.
Like she's trying to paint herself as desirable, but the post hints that the reality might be quite different.
Exactly, and her relationship with Bibi seems to be a prime example of that.
Good.
The forum post really digs into how complicated their dynamic is,
Okay.
highlighting how Chantal seems to want to show them as this happy, stable couple, despite Bibi clearly not wanting to be on camera or in her videos.
So it's like she's pushing a narrative that doesn't quite match up with what's actually going on in their relationship, which anyone watching can see.
Exactly, and then you add in her former fiancé, Pete, who also lived with them for a while.
Oh, yeah, that adds a whole other layer.
The post suggests that Chantal often played Bibi and Pete off against each other,
Yeah.
creating this sort of love triangle that just added to the drama.
It's that classic reality TV thing, create conflict and tension to keep people hooked.
Absolutely, and Chantal seems to have mastered that, whether she meant to or not. But maybe the most important event mentioned in the post, the one that seems to be a turning point for Chantal's online behavior, is this mysterious incident in late 2018.
Right. The post keeps hinting at it, but never fully explains what happened.
They just say that it was around the time Bibi's sister, Nima, came into their lives.
Oh, right.
And that Chantal's behavior became noticeably more erratic.
Okay.
And her lies more frequent and outlandish afterward.
Like this event, whatever it was, changed something for her, made her more disconnected from reality.
Yeah, the post even speculates about Nima's real role in Bibi's life.
Interesting.
Hinting that she might have been a romantic rival to Chantal.
It's another layer of mystery that makes Chantal's story so intriguing.
Yeah.
And the forum post just leaves it open to interpretation.
It makes you wonder if they're doing that on purpose, holding back information to keep people guessing.
Right.
Or if they just don't actually know the truth.
It's a good question.
It really shows the power of unanswered questions.
Yeah.
In captivating an audience, and it brings us back to that core question we've been wrestling with this whole time. Does Chantal believe her own stories?
Right. Is she manipulating her audience for views?
Or has she gotten so caught up in her lies that she can't tell what's real anymore?
That's the big question.
The forum post doesn't give us a clear answer.
Of course not.
It shows us all the contradictions, the inconsistencies, the bizarre parts of her online personality, but ultimately, it's up to us to decide.
And that's what makes this deep dive so interesting. We've looked at this one source, this incredibly detailed forum post, and through it, we've seen this complex and often unsettling part of internet culture.
We've met a woman who embodies the contradictions of online fame, someone who is at the same time repulsive and captivating, infuriating, and strangely endearing.
You said it perfectly. Chantal Sarault's story is a reminder that behind every online persona, there's a real person with their own motivations, their own struggles, and their own hopes.
It makes us think about what it means to document and analyze someone's life online, especially now when the lines between what's real and what's performance are getting blurrier all the time.
So as we wrap up, we want to leave you with this thought. In the world of the internet, where information spreads so fast and narratives can be easily manipulated, it's more important than ever to think critically, to question what we see and hear, and to remember that there's always more to the story.